So I'm not sure who's worse here. Kathy Hochul, the Democrats, or the Republican Party for not standing up to any of this insanity. Well, they are in Pennsylvania. And if we take a look at what's going on in Pennsylvania, Pennsylvania court has even struck down, which was very surprising to me. Pennsylvania court has struck down the state school mask mandate. They finally went up against them in Pennsylvania. The Supreme Court said, we're done with these school mandate or the mandates for masks of kids in school, and we are striking down. So the Pennsylvania Supreme Court has, in fact, struck down the state's school mandate. So let's take a look at that article, and I'll tell you guys what's going on here. Pennsylvania Supreme Court strikes down the state's school mask mandate. Another court is standing up to the COVID tyrants and for the rule of law. This time in Pennsylvania, which, like I said, I'm very surprised, where the state Supreme Court struck down a statewide mask mandate for schools. The court's ruling found that Democrat Governor Tom Wolf's mask mandate, instituted by a bureaucrat named Allison Beam, was invalid because the governor lacked the authority to impose such a mandate under state law. They lacked the authority. So if they're lacking the authority in states like Pennsylvania, surely Kathy Hochul is lacking the authority to implement and impose what she's just done again today here in New York State. So we know it's illegal. We know it's unconstitutional. How do New York State leaders keep getting away with it? And who the hell gave Kathy Hochul the power to be able to decide this situation? Emergency powers were stripped from Cuomo before he resigned. Nobody has reinstated or enacted these emergency powers for Kathy Hochul. I don't think we'll ever make that disastrous mistake again. So in Pennsylvania, the Supreme Court has ruled that they lack the authority to impose such mandates and that they do not pass constitutional muster. The decision affirmed the ruling of the lower court, which found both that there was no authority for the mandate and that any decisions were best left to schools. This should be the situation, the gimme, the no-brainer in every single 50 states in the United States of America. Obviously, they're still going to need to deal with their local school boards. However, while the ruling certainly was a victory in Pennsylvania and that it limited the governor's power, which is all anybody's asking to do, we need to fight these governors to limit their powers. It doesn't mean that mask mandates are over with in Pennsylvania. ABC more or less confirmed that reporting that one local doctor will still strongly is still strongly in support of forcing kids to mask up. The point being, the decision whether to impose masks on kids or not will now be left to the state's schools in Pennsylvania. Why isn't this the case in New York State? Rumor has it on the street, or word on the street has it, these kids are going to be in masks for years. Literally years. And these are coming from top officials. It's scary to think that these poor children may be masked up for years to come. Parents, I don't know what you're going to do or when you're going to start raising absolute hell to get these masks off these kids. But if something's not done, I would not leave it past New York State and in these crazy people who are running the state to want our kids masked up for the next 5-10 years. I mean, I would not put it past them. So the decision in Pennsylvania is going to be now left to the state schools, given that many educators are leftists. It's probably unlikely that the mandates will disappear anytime soon, which is a very similar situation we have here in New York State, only this time they'll be coming from schools rather than the governor's mansion. Furthermore, the decision is coming a bit late as the mask mandate for school instituted by Mrs. Beam went into effect in September. Still, many Republicans cheered on the legal victory, calling it a win for choice. Meanwhile, Wolf's office had to say this. So the governor had to say this. The administration's top priority from the beginning of this pandemic has been and remains protecting public health and safety, including students and staff, to ensure in-person learning continues. Blah, 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 blah. The point is that the governor in Pennsylvania, who's a Democrat, by the way, now has zero say in the matter because the Supreme Court in Pennsylvania just ruled that they lack the authority to impose these mandates. So if the governor lacks the authority, I would like to think that the schools also lack the authority. But it took the Supreme Court, it took the Republican Party to push back. They took it to the Supreme Court and they won. So where are you guys here in New York State? Where the hell are you? Why aren't you taking these matters to the Supreme Court? Why aren't you putting these unconstitutional mandates on full display for all of New York to see that they won't hold its weight in court if you actually put these mandates to the test? But we're not even doing that. I want to play a clip from you guys. This comedian predicted America's COVID response. This is the perfect 2-minute clip of exactly how crazy America has become over coronavirus.
It's just one more way of reducing your liberty and reminding you that they can f*** with you anytime they want, as long as you put up with it. As long as you put up with it. Which means, of course, anytime they want. Because that's what Americans do now. They're always willing to trade away a little of their freedom in exchange for the feeling, the illusion of security. What we have now is a completely neurotic population obsessed with security and safety and crime and drugs and cleanliness and hygiene and germs. There's another thing, germs. Where did this sudden fear of germs come from? In this country. Have you noticed this? The media constantly running stories about all the latest infections, salmonella, E. coli, hantavirus, bird flu, and Americans they panic easily, so now everybody's running around scrubbing this and spraying that and overcooking their food and repeatedly washing their hands, trying to avoid all contact with germs. It's ridiculous, and it goes to ridiculous lengths. Besides, what do you think you have an immune system for? It's for killing germs. But it needs practice. It needs germs to practice on. So listen. If you kill all the germs around you and live a completely sterile life, then when germs do come along, you're not going to be prepared. And never mind ordinary germs. What are you going to do when some super virus comes along that turns your vital organs into liquid? I'll tell you what you're going to do. You're going to get sick, you're going to die, and you're going to deserve it because you're weak and you got a weak immune system. Now,
So I thought that was a great clip. This comedian, he called it, he predicted it. Guys, stay tuned. When we come back, we're going to talk about Biden's Build Back Better lies, more lies, and the massive gas tax that Joe Biden and the Democrats have snuck in to his so-called Build Back Better bill. We'll be right back.